Hey everybody, how you doing? Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah. Um, Sorry we're a day late on this interview. Got busy with the holidays and all that good stuff. Firstly, I need everybody to check out my new guitar. Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Paul Reed Smith. Not the world's nicest person, but he makes very good guitars. So if you don't know who you're going to be listening to here in a couple minutes, here's a little hint. Ha ha! Ha 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 ha! Yes, Billy G, Reverend BFG, Mr. Billy Gibbons, the bearded one. This interview is from 2003. I first met Billy and the band sometime, I think it was 73, 74. I think it was his second record. Billy is one of the nicest, brightest, funniest cats you'd ever want to meet. I mean, he is so ultra hip and cool, dude. He's just swinging all the time, you know. Billy is very cool. Besides being one of the best guitar players ever in the universe for all time. Funny guy, man. He's always got something cool to say. Has a very unique look at how he makes music and his guitar playing and his views on the world. So yeah, man. Sit back. Maybe munch on some of that Christmas food you have left over, and take a listen to Mr. Billy Gibbons. Ha 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 ha. See ya.
Hey,
Hey, my friend.
amigo.
All right. Hey, while I'm setting up and getting my pencil and paper handy,
Yeah.
why don't you take a moment to get squared away? Pablo is standing here with just a quick message I need to discuss with him, and I'll be back with you in 30 seconds.
No problem.
All right.
Yep.
Just 30. Back to you there.
Yeah?
All right.
How are you?
Well, we are way, way, way up north. We just left Portland, Maine, and now we've dropped into I'm gonna call it somewhere New Hampshire.
Really?
I don't know where we are. It's crazy.
Yeah?
Yeah, but it's a very nice facility here. It's one of those indoor-outdoor venue kind of things.
Oh, cool.
It's quite large.
Great. So, life is good, you're good, everything's good?
Yeah, well, we had a day off yesterday, and that always brings life to the party, so it's doing fine. I understand that we're conducting today's exchange heading for Japan.
Heading for Japan.
Okay.
Yep.
Would that be the Player magazine?
Player magazine.
I'm familiar with them, yeah.
Yeah, you and I have done probably, Rhythmine interview is that for that one, and probably one or two others.
Uh-huh.
So, Japan is the market for this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Fire away there, brother.
Excuse me?
Fire away. Where do we begin now?
Well, gosh, why don't we begin with, why don't we talk just a little bit about how does, the impetus and intent and reason for an album come up? I mean, how does that develop? And I understand in commercial and business terms every, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, you need to make a record. But musically, for you, is it that you've gathered a bunch of guitar riffs and you've got a bunch of cassettes lying around, you've got lyrics? I mean, how does Mescalero unfold?
Actually, that's a good way to begin, because it started with a trip to the Mexican border, as so many of our records have been inspired by.
Of course.
This one is no different. And I suppose that we should not only speak of how it started, but why it's called what it's called.
Absolutely.
And this particular trip to the Mexican border found us sampling the mysterious virtues of mezcal, which is the dangerous cousin to tequila. And there's a rather mythological suspicion that the mezcal plant, or the agave plant,
Yes, right.
mezcal is harshly drawn from, is in a genus or a close species to the same plant that one might derive the hallucinogenic substance known as mescaline.
Gotcha.
And thirdly, there's a suspicion that all three of them are tied in with the Mescalero Indian tribe. Those were the bad boy offshoots of the Apaches.
I didn't know that.
And when I say the bad boy offshoots, they were so bad boy and so offshoot that the Apaches would not allow them to camp near them. So it's I guess that's the colorful and humble beginnings of this latest outing.
Right. So you're down there. You're sampling various wares. Your mind is heading in directions, and music starts growing out of the top of your head. I mean,
yes, I was actually hanging out with some of our border buddies, as we call them, and I noticed that there was a peculiar toast that was recited and in unison by a number of our border buddies. They all seem to be aware of this interesting tradition of reciting a 2-line stanza before the party begins. And you raise a glass, and I just caught it, and I said, "Did you guys say what I think you said?" And they said, "Well, what did you think we said?" And then I said, "I know what you said." They were speaking in Spanish, and it's "Nosotros pobres borrachos y nadie no tenemos mujer," which basically means we are just poor little drunks and we have nothing to hold. But with that, you grab your glass, raise it to the air, and then you're off and running. But for some reason, that particular little rhyme, or that toast, stuck in my head, and for the rest of the afternoon and evening, I kept reciting it, kind of chuckling about having learned a new twist to Tex-Mex culture. And I added 2 more lines to it, and from that sprang a chorus, which became the one of the first songs that was created for this record. It's sung entirely in Spanish, or whatever language they call that limited amount of Spanish I speak.
Right. So that's Que Lastima, and that means what?
What a pity! What a pity! What a pity!
Ah.
It's kind of the content of the lyric is in strict tradition with the Mexican blues ballads.
Right. I mean, it sounded like that.
Yes, it describes the fateful plight of those without. What a pity! We have nothing to drink. We need some money. We have no girls. I
see.
mean, all the things that would make you cry and say, "What a pity!"
Right. So that was the first track that developed.
Yeah, that was written on a bar napkin, of course, And then I kind of got curious about it, and I said, "Well, man, we should maybe we should continue." And sure enough, we opened up the recording studio, and they said, "Well, what do you have?" And I said, "Well, we got this crazy Mexican song," and it started taking shape, and from there it kind of set the stage for allowing ZZ Top to return to those early style roots.
Right. So on that track, I mean, you basically had some I mean, chord changes in your head. I mean, you knew it was going to be pretty traditional, so you just kind of went in there and started toying with it, and it started morphing and taking on a life. And
Exactly. The structure, surprisingly, is I would say it's in keeping with traditional border ballads,
mm-hmm.
and at the same time, it's spiced up with hard rock instrumentation. The guitars are pretty raunchy. Instead of the accordion, which is more traditional Mexican, we had blues harmonica.
Right.
But it was playing sort of what you might have heard coming from a border accordion.
Right, exactly. And
so it was a good way to start off. I liked the first step, and I said, "Gee, this is fun. Let's make some more."
Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry, Billy. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then from there we said, "Well, okay, this is one of the oddball ones. Let's get back into the middle of the road here and do something that would be more expected of us."
Right.
And we just turned the amps up a little bit louder, and sped it up a little bit. I can't remember let's see, Alligator, Punk Ass Boyfriend, and Buck Naked followed that first track.
Right.
So you can see that it's loaded with Gulf Coast, Texas, Mexico flavor.
Funneled through ZZ Top, Cajun Swamp, Zydeco, psychedelic, blues, rock, Gibbons, craziness.
A whole 10-word line there.
Yeah, exactly. So, Billy, let's just go back to Que Lastima for a moment, and talking in particulars here. First off, are you playing harmonica?
That's our buddy James Harmon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And you've worked with him before?
Yeah, we've worked with James, and actually it was quite ironic. He has always managed to happen to pass through town when we need him to blow harp. And he said, "Why don't you take a verse?" So I was playing it kind of straight accordion style, and then and I said, "Okay, you throw those." I said, "You throw some grease on it," and you can hear a few of those little departures, those diversions.
Yeah, they're great. I mean, they're so subtle. They're just so perfect.
Yeah,
absolutely. And Billy, is there a tuning situation going on with your guitar there? Are you tuned weird there?
Down to C sharp.
Tuned down to C sharp.
Yeah.
Okay, and we're going to try to talk kind of, basically kind of the rig kind of guitar amp setup on each one. So, what kind of guitar amp setup was this, Billy?
Well, we've addressing the tuning issue first. We've continued to experiment with low tunings, which got its true start with Rhythmine.
Yes.
Most of that was ultra low tuning, some of it even down to low A, which it gets a little bit challenging to without having to relearn how to perform.
Yeah.
Without going out of tune, but
exactly.
It gets its message across. It really creates a heaviness that you can only get from substandard tuning.
Mm-hmm.
And then the guitar was Pearly Gates.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was on those first 4.
Pearly Gates.
After the first week of tracking, where those, let's see, K Lastima, Alligator, Punk Ass Boyfriend, Buck Naked. Yep, those 4 were the first one. We cut those in the first week.
Mm-hmm.
And we were using we were using the setup, which has now become kind of our tried and trusty cornerstone, the staple for tone, which is the JMP1 Marshall preamp.
Mm-hmm.
And we take a direct out from the back of that unit,
Mm-hmm.
and we combine it with a mic'd small 210 Marshall combo. This is a little custom job that was put together by our buddies down in Long Beach, Guitar Oasis.
Mm-hmm.
That's Brent Magnano's outfit.
Okay.
You've heard his name before.
Yes.
By the way, his last name is Magnano.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Great.
And what he managed to do, he's been a collector of Marshall amps for, it seems like forever, and has amassed a selection of components and parts, and he really knows his business.
Mm-hmm.
And he managed to somehow shoehorn a 1967 Plexi, a 100-watt Plexi amp into a very rare Marshall cabinet. They made them in 66 and 67. It was called I believe it was called the Marshall, the Mini, or it was the Marshall Mini. MINI, and pardon me for interrupting.
That's okay.
I was just handed a note. We were traveling on the bus out of the cell phone zone.
Mm-hmm.
I missed a 4 o'clock interview. Can I call you back in 10 minutes?
Sure.
Let me just ring you back in 10, and it's just I have to just deliver a couple of two ID lines.
No problem, Billy.
All right, I'll ring you back in about 10 minutes.
Excellent.
Good.
Bye.
See you again.
Hey.
All right.
So we okay?
Yeah, that was pretty oddball. The jock was out of the studio and was at a radio station party at some bar, and they were patching me through by holding the microphone up to the It was crazy. I had to tiptoe through that one. Hey, I've got a proposition for you.
Yes.
Bob Small informed me that you'd like about 45 minutes.
Well, I was hoping. I mean, he mentioned a half hour. You and I take a half hour just to say hello. So.
Oh yeah, if I could do like another 15 to 20 now, and then I don't know where you're going to be at California. Are you California time?
Yes.
Let's see. It's now.
It's about a quarter.
We're on East Coast time,
right?
Which
so
is.
You're a 6:45 there. Or quarter
that's
to.
Correct. 6:45.
Right.
Our show is over at what is it? Where are you now? 3:45.
I'm a 3:45.
Oh, good. That's 3. Let's see. I wonder if we could break this up into 2 parts. 20 minutes now, and then 20 minutes following the show.
Sure. Are you going to feel like talking after the show?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because they're going to start in 20 minutes. They start this sound check thing, and it gets so damn loud. I don't think I'll be able to hear you. This venue is really odd. That's all I'm going to tell you. But anyway, why don't we pick it up where we left off there?
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
in the middle of describing that little Marshall Mini amplifier.
Exactly.
It's a 100-watt Plexi but it was shoehorned into this very small, manageable-sized cabinet, and they put 2 Celestion 10s in there. And man, the thing is just it's just it's a great amplifier. In particular, it's good for studio, not only because of its size, but 100 watts really puts a 10-inch speaker through its paces.
Yeah.
And it gets a real crusty sound. It's the only one. It was a one-off thing, and he was only able to. He only had the one cabinet, so not that it couldn't be perhaps emulated in some manner, but we've stayed with it, and it's really kept that ZZ raunchiness intact.
Right, and that's the basic tone we're hearing on Alligator, Punk Ass Boyfriend, and Buck Naked.
Yeah.
Cool. So I'm sorry, Braylon, go ahead.
There, as I mentioned, those were the first 4, and then something rather unexpected occurred. The engineers, in their visionary wisdom, invited me to reach out and maybe try some different guitars here and maybe a different tuning there. We had as you know, I'm still a fan of the old Fender Esquire, just one pickup. For some reason, that the simplicity of that instrument actually makes you reach for playthings that you may not normally reach for.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It just it's the instrument itself, because it's so simple. It's so limiting that it inspires one to try and do something special with it. So we got a lot of utility out of jumping over to a Fender Esquire.
And what tracks do we hear that on?
Actually, I'd have, I don't have the...
I've got the list here. Mescalero, Two Ways to Play.
Oh, yeah, Mescalero has it.
Oh, really?
That's Esquire.
Two Ways to Play, Alligator, Buck Naked, Going So Good.
Oh, yeah, Going So Good.
That's
the slow one.
That's the ballad.
Yep.
That's
when it was going so good.
Me So Stupid, Peace, Punk Ass Boyfriend, Stacking Paper. Peace as well.
Had Esquire.
So, just talking about Peace for a moment, I mean, that has monster guitar sounds on it.
Yeah.
That's the Esquire?
Believe it or not, that's the Esquire. And it was really a riff that was inspired by Led Zeppelin. And I said, gee whiz, some of those early Zeppelin tracks we know to have been cut when Page was using his Telecaster.
That's exactly right. I mean, people think, all that stuff is Les Paul, and none of that stuff was Les Paul.
Yeah. And you've got to really sink your teeth into it to make a Fender get big and fat, because generally speaking, they tend to be slithering, kind of a sneaky, skinny kind of a feel.
Yes, right.
But we worked with it a little bit, and if you listen closely, you can hear we use the old recording technique of double tracking, which was another Led Zeppelin trick to just get it really big and fat.
You mean doubling your rhythm parts?
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. In fact, I have a note here. There was sort of a Zepp feel, but at the very end, I say, the end of song has that Zepp up-tempo section where it kind of goes into that up-tempo thing at the end there. I really get that kind of that Zeppelin second album vibe.
Yes, man.
Freaking great.
You hit it right on the head.
Oh, man.
That was such an inspiration. I had just spoken with both Jimmy Page while I was out in California briefly.
Really?
This was, it's, the beginning of this recording goes back a year now.
Oh, really?
And he was, I can't remember, I think he was actually attempting to make appearances with The guys from Atlanta.
Not Puff Daddy.
Crows. Black Crows, excuse me.
Oh, Black Crows, right.
He did.
Yeah.
He did a couple of appearances. He was having some complaints about. There was some ailment that actually forced him to withdraw from the complete tour. He did a few of the dates, but in bumping into him, we were reminiscing about early this and early that, and it was during those discussions that he reminded me that a lot of the Led Zeppelin early tracks were done on a Telecaster.
Yep.
And then we got into technique, and he, of course, was a big fan of getting as large a sound as you could under such restrictive circumstances.
Right.
That, he said, man, he said, double track, even triple track would work for them.
So he was pretty forthcoming in terms of talking with you, and I mean, obviously he knew who you were and ZZ Top was, and there was an affinity there.
Yeah, we had met on a number of occasions. I even had a real pleasant evening meeting with a few friends at his house while we were in England. This goes back a few years. So we've enjoyed a I'd call it more of a professional exchange, because we always seem to wind up talking about our favorite stuff. That's guitars and how to make them sound this and how to make them sound that.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I even we after I saw you recently, I didn't get a chance to mention. I had also shortly thereafter spoken with Robert Plant.
Oh, really?
At great length, and I had the occasion to contact him. It had been brought to my attention that we were performing some dates together while touring in just this recent run through Europe.
With Page Plant?
With Robert Plant.
Robert Plant, I see. Okay.
With his band. He's got a new lineup that's really smart. And we, too, drifted off into that exchange of, well, how do you do this and what makes you do that? It was all great fun. But, yeah, those were some fun shows together. That was just last month.
Wow.
It was really good. He's got quite a thing going.
Yeah, he always puts together really great bands.
Yep, and he still digs doing what he does.
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
He says, yeah. He said, this is going to be good. He said, you know what? He said, you guys like it as much as I do.
So is Peace sort of the new millennium version of Tush?
It gets close.
Yeah.
It gets close. It's quite a bit slower in tempo, but it's a lot heavier.
Right.
And yet Dusty's inimitable style of singing kind of captures that intensity that he so well does.
That's his lead vocal?
Yep.
That's great. And that's also, is there a kind of a weird tuning on that song as well?
Don't believe. I think Peace was no, that's standard.
Really?
We went back up to standard.
Wow.
Again, another challenge. I knew that the Telecaster would do like most guitars. It might make it a little heavier. However, it didn't seem to have the strength when it was tuned down. And then as we returned to standard tuning, then we realized, gee, we could probably work with this.
Right.
And it's in the song is written in the key of E, and Dusty felt better about singing it in that key, and I said, well, we'll just use standard tuning. It'll be a lot easier for me to play.
So if we go back to track 1 here, Mescalero, is that a fuzz bass? That intro, or is that a guitar?
It is such a fuzz bass.
Yeah.
It is beyond fuzz. It's like double fuzz bass.
Yeah.
And
what is it specifically? Do you know?
Well, Dusty he used his tried and true old slab body precision, the thing that some people call them Telecaster basses. It was actually a early 50s precision, and it was before they introduced the contoured body
Right.
precision.
Right.
But it still it had the single coil pickup in the middle of between the bridge and the neck.
Mm-hmm.
And he was jumping between his favorite one and on that song he was using a Fender 5-string. I guess it's more of a Fender Jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Got the stacked concentric knobs. It's a newer incarnation of a jazz bass. It just has an extra string.
Right. Right.
And I'm not sure if they're even still in the line, but
what kind of fuzz was it? Do you know, Billy?
yes, there's a guy out of Austin, Texas, that makes a device called the Austone, Austone.
Ah.
And we had two of them, and so we leapfrogged the first one, overdriving it into the second one.
Really?
And
wow,
it's been done. By now I think just about everybody's done everything.
But I know that you had, back in the day, I know that you had always overdriven the overdrive to the overdrive, so it's kind of, not new for you guys.
Yeah, I think the noteworthy observation was that Dusty has fuzz tone built into his right hand. A fact proven by a brief oversight. He had laid down a bass part, and he had left the studio prior to completing 32 bars of, I can't remember what song it was, but the engineer said, gee, it'd be so nice to go ahead and finish this track. Why don't you just perform the 32 bars? Dusty certainly won't have any problem with you helping him out here. And each one of us tried to match the tone. And we tried using picks, we tried using our fingers, we tried beating on it with a hammer. He said, I guess we're going to have to wait till Dusty returns tomorrow, because ain't nobody got fuzz in their fingers.
Yeah, that's so great. It kind of sets. It kind of sets the tone as the opening track. It kind of tells you that we're not in for Britney Spears here. It was very cool stuff. And there's a little keyboard part in there, a little pad, or I just have a little note here. It's a little keyboard part. Maybe it's a organ or a piano. I'm not sure. I can't remember. I don't have my notes, but
when we decided that we had successfully returned from this unusual excursion writing Kalostima, I went to work on this song Mescalero simply because I liked the sound of the word.
Yeah, it's a great word.
And but having a rather limited command of the language, it became Spanglish. Some lines are in English, some lines are in Spanish, and it's very difficult. Historically, Mexican ballads and Mexican traditional music from the border does not use rhyming schemes. Although in this case, both Kalostima and Mescalero are it's kind of taking a 12-bar structure, which rhymes every other line rhymes with itself.
Right.
And getting to do that in some foreign language is gets a bit tricky if
Yeah.
you want to retain the intent of the interpretation or the translation.
Right.
But Dusty was he was quite excited about the lyric content, and he said, well, he said since we're leaving the confines of a traditional Mexican song, he said, I'd like to make sure that people know that this may be sung in Spanish, but it's definitely a rock backtrack.
Mm-hmm.
And he starts it off with that crazy, overfuzzed bass.
Mm-hmm.
But the sound, okay, so we completed the track, and it was rhythm guitar. Dusty kind of shines on it's. I mean, he almost takes the lead because of the wildness of the bass tone. And one afternoon, we took our usual lunch break, and we decided to get adventurous, and we left the confines of the studio, and we drove across to a Mexican restaurant, which was it was I think every third day we decided it's going to be Mexican food, and we happened to stumble in there on a Wednesday. Oh, it was early evening, say.
Mm-hmm.
And we were actually seated in the bar area, and they said, "Oh yeah, we'll serve you right in here just as easily." And we heard this kind of unusual music. I said, "By the way," I said, "that doesn't sound like your sound system. Are you playing a radio, or is that a CD?" And they said, "Oh no." They said, "If you'll go around the corner, we have a live entertainment from the other room."
Mm.
So we got curious, and sure enough, we entered the dining area, and there was a two-man team playing an authentic Mexican marimba. And it was a father-son team. The son they were both playing double mallets, and it was an old wooden block. The tone blocks were wooden.
Mm-hmm.
And the son was playing the bass end of it,
Right.
and the dad was playing the lead melody on the upper end. And we sat there for the longest time, just truly enjoying the artistry of their delivery.
Mm.
And we got back over to the studio, and I said, "Gee, wouldn't it be unusual to get a real Mexican marimba to be laying on this mescalero track? I mean, after all, we're back to Spanish again."
Right.
And we called over to the restaurant, and I asked the person on the other end of the phone. I said, "Is there any way you can give me some information on the entertainers that were playing the marimba?" They said, "Oh yes, as a matter of fact, they're here every Wednesday and Thursday." And then they get in their van, they load their marimba up, and they drive down to Monterrey, Mexico to play their weekend gig. And then they get back on Sunday, they travel back up to Houston, Texas, so that they can play this secondary gig.
Mm-hmm.
So we found out that they had a local phone number. They only stay in town for 3 days. So we knew we had one chance to get them. And it really got humorous when we discovered they spoke no English. And they were kind of curious. They were rather quizzical. "You want us to do what? Bring this thing to a recording studio?" They said, you look like rock guys. We play Mexican songs." And I said, "Yeah, well, come on." But sure enough, they showed up. I sent one of our technicians to lead them back in their van, so they didn't get lost. And they together they unloaded this monstrosity. It was the size of a triple-length sofa.
Right.
And they assembled it right there in the studio, and they were looking around, and they said, "Oh, this is very nice." And they said, "What is it you'd like us to perform?" So I kind of initially I was cringing, thinking, "Oh goodness, here's a rock song. It's going to take all day to get them out of like Mexican mode and into this other thing." We played it for them one time. They said, "Okay, that's fine," and they went into the studio, put their marimbas right under the microphones, and they laid a rhythm thing in one take.
Really?
And the outro, if you'll notice, the outro is not a guitar solo. It's the marimba that's taking the lead line. And that was the dad getting kind of jazzified.
Yeah.
As it turns out, he was a big jazz fanatic,
Yeah.
and he knew how to improvise.
That's great. That's great. Let's see. Moving on to Two Ways to Play. Huge intro rhythm sound. I mean, what's going on there, Billy?
That's a pretty good way to describe it. It's intro heavy. It's there's not a lot of single note lead work. It's just big heavy chords. And that song too is at a slower tempo, but it carries a good weight. And at that particular speed, it just got really heavy.
Right. And guitar and amp setup on that one?
That was back to the Les Paul.
Les Paul. Pearly gates?
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing.
I will add that we used there's one. I'll get the track review when we speak tonight. I'll have that in front of me. There's a couple of tracks featuring a 1955 Gold Top with T90s. Just a stop bridge, no tune-o-matic. Simple. And always using the rear pickup.
Right.
And then there's a couple of the bonus tracks that feature that crazy custom Gretsch guitar that was built for Bo Diddley, the one that he gave it to us back, Scott, I want to say 20 years ago. It was built for him in 1959.
Oh, wow.
It was not the square one. It was, they made, are you familiar with the three instruments they created for Bo Diddley? Pretty much everybody knows about the square one.
Yes.
The rectangle.
Right, I know that one.
And then in 1959, I think the first one was made for him in either 1956 or 57, the square one. And then in 1959, Bo brought in another design of his own. And they built, I've got a photograph. In fact, somebody recently brought me a rare photograph. It shows Bo playing this next custom made, which he called the Jupiter Thunderbird. It was called the Jupiter Thunderbird. And this one photo, I'll have to send you a copy of it. It's pretty cool. It shows him playing the Jupiter Thunderbird. He's in his shiny tuxedo, and standing beside him in the background of the photo is the girl that played guitar with him. I can't remember if it was Lady Bo or if it was the Duchess. But she is seen in this photo playing an identical version. So this photo exemplifies the fact that we know at least two of these things were in existence at one time. But anyway, he gave me that guitar 20 years ago.
Wow.
We did a bunch of shows backing up Bo as kind of his backup band. We would open and then we'd stay on stage and play while he came aboard. And we wound up being friends. I mean, this is when we were like 22 years old. And he wound up giving me that thing, and it laid around for such a long time. It was you know how Gretsch's don't have a reputation for being the most sturdy guitars.
Yeah,
However, Gretsch guitar fanatics are probably the most fanatic guitar guys around.
Possibly, yeah.
And so the engineers were the ones that prompted that. We started digging around in the guitar box, and they said, what's in that thing? What's in that case down there? And I said, I'm going to show you guys something. I said, you're not going to believe this thing. And I pulled it out, and they said, where did you get that? I said, this is... And the one engineer recognized it immediately. He says, wow. He said, it's one of Bo Diddley's customs. I said, yeah, man. So it's got... the rectangle had single coil pickups. It had the DeArmond single coils.
Mm-hmm.
And by 1959, Gretsch had decided to introduce their version of a humbucker. And the Gretsch humbucker, it was actually referred to as a Gretsch Filtertron. And it had, as a humbucker has, 2 bobbins underneath the cover. So does the Filtertron. It's not quite as wide as a humbucker.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little thinner, but the sound is killer. So we pulled it out and had to restring it and had to kind of shore it up a little bit, make sure the neck was. We had to do a little tweaking on it and get it back so the intonation was set. And I'll tell you which song we used that on. You may have. There was a little sidebar in Guitar World that highlighted that crazy guitar. Because I decided to bring it out on tour. Once we had gotten it inspected, and we had to re-glue the neck joint, of course, and some of the binding needed some attention. But all in all, it was just a remarkable sounding thing. Really strong.
Cool. And the solo section in Two Ways to Play, is that a sequenced part underneath what you're playing? I mean, were there sequenced parts on the record?
Yeah, I believe you're correct. I'd have to go and listen to it to make sure that's the one.
Yeah.
When you say sequenced guitars.
Sequenced guitars, just kind of, gong, 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 kind of thing, or
yes.
Stuff like you used to do, like on the I guess like the Eliminator albums, and
yes,
that kind of thing.
That they were, in fact, those they were sequenced and doubled.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what allowed us to capture that extra bit of heaviness.
I see.
That was so handy.
And at the end of the song, you're playing some slide. And there's a fair amount of slide on the record. I mean, a lot of slide, I would say.
Yeah. Now for that, gosh, you're. I'm so glad your astuteness is bringing. That was a borrowed Magnetone lap steel.
It was.
Yes, that I was able to persuade our second engineer Gary Moon, Mr. G.L. Moon, G-Main.
Mm-hmm.
He had it in his car one day, and it was so miserably hot down in Houston. He said, "I'm going to bring." I said, "I'm
30, and I'll be waiting."
You got it.
Thank you so much, Billy.
Okay.
Talk to you later.
Yay.
Bye.
Yeah, we had a rousing. I mean, this part of the world is, you never know what you're going to walk into. But if you get up there and all you have to do is turn it up loud and play them blues. I want to test your memory.
Sure.
We got through some pretty significant points to ponder. While I was on stage, it's so I've got this left brain right brain connection now. I can play and think of other things while I'm playing.
That's unbelievable.
And well, it's really weird. But you were asking me about the rhythm track on Two Ways to Play.
Yeah, that's about where we left off.
Which is it's really a damn heavy. It's intro heavy.
Huge.
I liked your observation.
Yes.
It's just so.
Exactly.
And then I admitted to sequencing the rhythm track. But I want you to consider. I forget sometimes. I'm honest with you, but sometimes it's better to paint a picture that treats the avid fan to something that won't disappoint them.
I understand what you're going for here.
And I said, oh gosh, maybe I said maybe it would be more prudent to some things you keep a secret, and that's okay. Instead of saying, oh yeah, well to say you sequence things, that can be the kiss of death with some of these streetwise or so-called streetwise guys. I know how they do this, or oh well, they comped out their sequencing.
Right.
And I started getting worried. I said, oh, I better get Stephen on the phone. What we could do.
You tell me what you want me to say, Billy.
Is what we could do is leave the question intact. Let's see. It's like okay, the rhythm track has a solidity and a repeatability factor, and something along the lines that would suggest. Did you sequence that part?
I gotcha.
Or not? Did you? Just is there any sequencing involved?
Right.
And rather than saying, "Oh yeah, because a lot of our readers are they're still in the dregs of the street, and they don't want their guitar heroes to be cheaters.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how it shakes out.
It really is amazing. I mean, I completely understand, even though the way that you particularly use sequencing, it has a very organic feel to it, but I understand.
Here's what the guy in the street doesn't understand. It's real playing, and it doesn't matter. I mean, it's still going to a recording device.
Exactly.
And in the old days, if you wanted it, like, on the grid, in the old days, you had to take a razor blade and cut out about 60 feet of tape,
right,
1/16 of an inch at a time. But it's a different game today. However, there's still the major faction and our grassroots following. They want us in the palm of their hand, being they want ZZ Top to be the three guys from Texas doing the garage thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't cop to this publicly. I said, how do I get around this? I'll say, I think the answer should be something like, are there sequence parts making that solid underbelly to play over the top of? And I should say, I said, absolutely not. I said, here's the answer, absolutely not. Just like cooking soul food. Cooking soul food or doing laundry. ... All work done by hand.
And that's what it is. Absolutely not, with 2 exclamation points.
Yeah,
all
work done by hand. That throws in a little soulfulness, and it's not untrue.
Well,
because I did have to play the damn
of
thing.
course, of course. I mean, it's like saying, Bob O'Reilly, I won't get fooled again. I mean, those are sequence parts, but Pete Townsend wrote those parts. You know what I'm saying? It's still got to come from a musical place. So I understand what you're saying, and that's what it is, and we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll, as we go along, I believe that I know your deadline is. When is your deadline? Tomorrow?
Well, I would imagine. Where are we? I'm guessing they probably want me to have this into them. I'd say probably by the middle of the month sometime. Typically, I do the interview and they say, "Oh, you get it to us tomorrow." And I said, "Well,
if we could do a wrap by Sunday."
Oh yeah.
That means we could do an installment tomorrow afternoon. Take a break, take a breather, do another installment before the show. We continue on. I explained. Everybody said. They said, "Gee whiz." I said, "No, this is a very dear friend of mine," and I said, "I owe him the delicacy of allowing him to delve into the depths of what we have spent so much work doing." I said, because this is the one close friend that pays attention to detail, he pays attention to accuracy, and he's thorough. And they said, "Wow, now there's a switch."
Well,
I said, we've known each other now 15 years, and I said,
at least.
I even went so far as to tell them how we met on the Queen Mary, and you introduced me to Van Halen.
Was that unbelievable?
I'm telling you, that's 15 years ago.
Yeah, that's 15 years ago.
So they said, "Okay, well, what do you suggest?" And I said, "Well, I've cut a deal with Stephen to take this." I said, "I know that these we're in such an odd part of the country where, the cell phone service is great and then we're up in some weird part of the backwoods hills in New Hampshire, and you don't get cell service every 60 feet.
Right.
You get it every 60 miles." And they said, "Well, I said, "Well, I promised Steve that I'd call him after the show, and I was really hoping to." I was really hoping to, squeak in another 20.
I understand. I can tell you're obviously you're burned. It's late for you. I appreciate those very kind words.
You know what I can do? I noticed that from where we stand now, we're in a little lakeside city called Guilford.
Mm-hmm.
And as we entered the city, the cell service got better. And the drivers are boarding up. They're ready to. They are nearing that let's go point.
I see. Oh, so you're actually on the cell phone right now?
No, I'm on the landline. But
I see.
What I can do is I can. I don't know. I didn't mean to spoil your Friday night.
No, not at all. Are you kidding me? No.
But having said that, why don't you put pencil to the paper and just revise that portion while I put my bags back on the bus.
Okay.
And I could probably ring you back within 10 to 15.
Oh, are you up to that?
Sure. And what we'll do is we'll squawk until the cell phone doesn't want to talk.
Okay.
And we'll see how far we can get on this, and then we'll take it up tomorrow when we arrive.
Okay, so if we do get disconnected here, about what time do you think I could maybe expect a call from you?
Well,
or should we just talk in the morning if we get cut off, or you'll call back or something?
Yeah, what I'll probably do is I'll sleep. We're still on East Coast time. I will sleep on board the coach until 2. Usually, because after we get off these shows, we're so excited. I don't go to bed until like 5 or 6 in the morning.
Oh, really?
But all I need is like 6 hours, like 6, 7 hours. Noon, 1.
Mm-hmm.
Usually by 2 o'clock, wherever I am, we're back at it.
Right.
And did I give you my cell number?
No, you gave me the 3 numbers for the production office.
Oh, let me. Do you have a pencil?
I do.
713
Mm-hmm.
562
Right.
0434.
34. And that's your cell?
And that's my personal cell.
Okay.
Unfortunately, my mailbox is full, and I'm not sure that I can get inside of it from this. What I want to do is clear it out.
Right.
So if you need to leave a message, I do have another cell phone. I've got 2 more.
Okay.
This is for our tour manager. And his name is Pablo, Pablo.
Pablo. Okay.
Last name Gamboa, Gamboa.
Right. Okay.
Area code 661
Mm-hmm.
644
Right.
1514.
Okay.
The last number I'll burden you with is Wendy, Wendy.
Right.
Graham, Graham.
Right.
Cell phone 602
Right.
821
Right.
3686.
Got it.
And I'm going to try and get on line and clear out the Denise, my secretary down at the studio there in Houston, Texas, said, "Hey, you better clear out your cell phone. It's full.
Yeah.
Nobody can leave you a message."
Right.
I'm going, okay. But
okay. So
hold on one. Hold on 1 second. I'm just going to call her. I got my cell phone in hand. Let me call my driver. See cell phone service for at least 15 minutes while we go through this little town.
Okay.
I'll call you back. Why don't you prepare a couple of quick questions?
I'm ready.
Hey, is JB up?
Yeah, he just started the bus.
Okay. Are the other buses ready to go?
You're talking about the crew?
Since they're going to close the production office here, I want to call him back on this cell phone while we're in this little town.
It might take 30 minutes before we get the good signal.
Well, yeah, my cell phone is dead here, but
I think about 30 minutes.
as soon as we get over that big hill,
Right. 15, 20.
yeah, and then we got about 15 to 20 minutes of cell service.
Well, we're headed into a big.
It sounds like we may be good to go for maybe longer.
Oh, great.
So keep the questions and answers handy.
Got them. And in fact, you can start thinking we're going to be talking about alligator and buck naked. So you can start running those through your head. That's what we'll be talking about. Okay?
Okay, great.
So I'll be here and wait for your call.
That sounds great.
All right, Billy.
I'll call you in, looks like we're going to pull stakes here in 15. It'll take another 5 to cross that hill. Then we're in, once we top this hill, which is, it's like 8 to 10 minutes to get out of this hole.
Mm-hmm.
then there's a small town, I think we're in, I don't know if you got a map, but we're in Guilford, New Hampshire, which is in the middle of absolutely zero-where. But I'll give you a shout back.
Great.
Looking forward to it. You got my cell number, and then 2 o'clock my time is going to be a little early for you, brother. You're so astute.
Yeah.
And they are They are detail freaks.
They are, so that's why, I go into what I do, talking, you know what I mean, guitars, ears, pickups, settings, sounds, slides, string gauges, so, so keep all that in your head, and,
I want you to ask me tomorrow about a guy. He's like the Seymour Duncan of Gretsch reproduction pickups.
Oh, really?
His name is T.V. Jones.
T.V. Jones. Okay.
And he's located in Seattle, just outside.
Got it.
And he is assisting me, kind of buffing up this Bo Diddley thing.
Oh, really?
In Milwaukee.
Okay, I'll call you in the next 15 to 20.
Great.
Right here.
Okay.
Okay, Billy. Thank you.
Yeah, if you get antsy, try ringing through on my cell phone, because I don't know what the hell we're looking at.
I will do that.
Connection wise. So.
Sounds good.
But at any rate, we'll pick it up tonight and then again tomorrow.
Beautiful.
Okay, Matt.
Talk to you in a bit.
Friend. Hey, thanks for your patience.
Oh my God! Well, thank you.
We'll get this thing. We'll dial this thing up, and
I know we will. It'll be great.
We'll have the Japanese at our feet.
Beautiful.
That'll be great.
Sounds great.
Okay, later.
I'll talk to you in a bit.
Okay, man.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, my friend.
How are you?
Good.
Good. I'm sorry I missed your call.
Hey, not a problem. It wouldn't have done us as good because they were in the midst of something. It was so damn loud. The peculiar arrangement of things puts us right next to the area, and I don't think that we could have gotten a word in edgewise.
Right. Are you on a cell phone now, Billy?
Yes, but I've got fairly decent reception, so if you want to continue.
Okay, yeah, now I can hear you good. You were cutting out before, but now you're real clear.
Okay. See how long we before may or may not get interrupted. I am now stationary on board the bus.
Oh, okay.
And it seems like we got fairly decent stuff.
Okay. Okay, good. Why don't we let's begin where we left off, which was alligator. Hello? Hello? Billy? Billy?
Line.
God.
Are you back at the house for about 15 or 20?
Yeah, I'm home.
Okay, because it'll take me about 15 or 20 just to make my way back up to the production office. It's quite a distance away.
No problem.
Great. I'll keep your number handy. I will call you. That'll probably be the best deal.
That'd be great.
I'll talk to you, and let's see, I've got right now 15 minutes to the top of the hour.
Yes.
Quarter till, so right about 5 after.
Sounds great.
Okay.
Talk to you then.
Good deal.
Bye.
In my notes here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and you have my word that what you originally said is erased and
revised, yeah.
Revised, and you got it.
Where do we pick up now?
We were just basically kind of running down the tracks here and kind of getting the guitar amp layout and kind of what was going on. And I think we had just made it up to Alligator.
Right.
Right, which features an accordion or a squeeze box of some sort. And
yeah. I played the one riff that I know.
Oh, you played it?
Yeah. And if you notice, that song stays in the tonic. It doesn't. There are no chord changes.
Right. It's one of those kind of those modal things. Just kind of played over the top of it. Kind of a one change kind of a thing.
I don't know how we humorize the fact that it stays in one chord because I only know one riff on the accordion. But maybe that. I mean, just saying that straight out.
And guitar-wise, tell me what you're using. And also, this is a tuned-down guitar as well?
Yes. That, again, was created the first week, so it was Pearly Gates.
Mm-hmm.
The tuning was, I think it was probably C sharp.
Mm-hmm.
We did let's see, we did Alligator in C sharp, and we did Que Lastima was down. I can't remember. Peace, the one Dusty did, that was standard tuning.
Right.
Yeah, that was the Fender in standard.
Right.
We already talked about that. That's right.
With the big sound, yes,
Yeah.
right.
Alligator is, and there's I'll tell you, we were dropped tuning, but it was we were tuned to C sharp natural.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't standard guitar tuning. It was E tuning, but it was just dropped down 4 steps because I wanted to play slide as the kind of the between verse fills and the solo. Mm-hmm. And even though it was drop tuning, it was tuned to an E chord, what you and I would call an E chord. I guess that's the best way to describe it.
So forgive my stupidity. It's tuned, like the strings are E, B, G, D, A, E, B, or it's actually tuned to a C sharp.
Well, first we used a straight E chord tuning, and then we took that and dropped it down 4 steps.
Oh, I see. So the guitar's actually tuned to an E. You strum it open. It's an E.
It's open E strummed. No fingering work.
Gotcha. I see.
And that was John. That was simply a measure to make the slide playing a little easier.
I see.
Than playing straight tuning. We've had. It's faster.
Yeah, I can understand. It's.
Sometimes on stage we don't have time to do a guitar change, or we certainly don't have time to retune the song. Mm-hmm. So I've had to learn both ways. Play it in regular guitar tuning, play it in slide in regular guitar tuning.
I see.
But when you have the convenience of when time is on your side in the studio, we just had that luxury at our convenience.
I see. Because when you think of a lot of guitar players, I mean, obviously the traditional blues guys were regular tuning. But when you think of people like Jeff Beck and Duane Allman, those were just regular tunings that those guys played in. It's pretty amazing what they did. With
Indeed, I think Beck is overlooked. I don't know if this plays into this interview, but just
please.
A side comment.
Yes.
Beck has been overlooked at his mastery of playing slide in regular tuning.
Unbelievable.
And it's just a technique which he obviously spent some time in mastering.
Right. Have you heard that song he did? I'm not sure which album it was from. It's called Angel Footsteps.
Oh, yeah. Man.
He just came around here and he played live and he did that, and they had a big screen up there and you can see him doing it, where he's way above the, over the pickups, and he's finding those little, those little notes where there's kind of no fret markings, obviously, and it was just, I'll tell you, it's one of the most remarkable displays of guitar playing.
I mean, there's another song. It's off the previous one of the more recent CDs that he released. It's the one with Roy's Toy on it. Mm-hmm. It's the one with, but it's the title of the track it had something to do with birds.
Right.
Bird call or bird with. Anyway.
Right.
He actually, I don't know what's going on, but he makes his guitar turn into the sound of a bird.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And it's way up there, as you say, long past the fretboard, and it is still. He's got such a. It's a guitar player's dream to remain in pitch with the key that you're playing in.
Exactly.
Particularly when there's no markings to you just, I guess it's a learned experience. You just work and work and work.
Exactly.
Until it becomes second nature to find your place.
Right, exactly. I mean, have you had has your path crossed with Jeff? I mean, have you had any conversations with him or?
I spoke with him last week.
Oh, really?
In fact, I was unable to. I didn't realize that he had completed this most recent excursion in the recording studio.
Mm-hmm.
But our plan is to, he volunteered to lend his vocal talents on Triple X.
You're kidding?
No, he sings in conjunction with me on the chorus of a song called "Hey, Mr. Millionaire."
Really?
Yeah, and the invitation to sing on his record arrived. Unfortunately, we were way off in Europe, and I was unable to make his deadline.
Mm-hmm.
But we still want. We talked. In fact, did you see him when he was appearing with B.B. King?
Yeah, that's the last show that I saw. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because he told me. He said, "Yeah." He said, I called him. I can't remember where we were overseas, but he said, "Good to hear from you." He said, "I'm out with B.B. King," and I was cringing, knowing that we were not able to see probably one of the greatest combination shows and lineups ever.
Yeah, that was pretty hip. Definitely.
Man, we were laughing. He said, "Man," and as over the top and as worldly renowned as he is, he remains a very genteel, down to earth guy. He will be the first one to tell you. He said, "Man, I still love playing guitar." And if you can maintain that intensity, that if you can maintain that, it keeps you in that winner circle.
Right. Right.
I talk to my two partners all the time about it, and we kind of shrug our shoulders, going, "Gee, we still enjoy doing this so much."
You do. I mean, for you, it's still kind of like the first time you picked up a guitar. I mean, it's like the first album, the first tour. I mean, it still feels that way to you?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And even under duress, I call it. We're all making jokes about this gig today. The buses had to park in a dirt field. It's actually, it's all pro. I mean, but the stage is like a quarter of a mile away from the production office. Is in an upstairs level of a house that was converted into a public bar. But even so, I said, well, this is going to be challenging. But everybody kind of shrugs it off. They laugh and go, it's just another show.
So, Billy, tell me, I mean, typically at this point, what is a ZZ Top session like? I mean, are you in there playing live, laying for a good drum track, and then you and Dusty go back and put on bass and guitars, or is it keeping live tracks? I mean, how does that develop in the studio?
Yeah, the fastest approach that we start with is all three of us in the cutting room, having maybe spent however long in advance to learn the composition that
right.
we've, first you make it up, and then you if you have the luxury of rehearsing it before entering the control room or the studio, then you have a shot at going in there as a band. And the good news is that we're just a trio, so it's not like trying to manage Well, the management of a trio is easier
Right,
than
yeah.
anything else.
Right. It's not like there's a keyboard or an extra guitar player or whatever.
Yeah. So we fortunately, having built our own, call it the ZZ Top Studio, which is known as Foam Box Recordings.
Mm.
It was named after the fact that we built a foam box inside of a box.
Mm-hmm.
But Foam Box Recordings,
So
and it's a pretty thrifty arrangement,
mm-hmm.
and at the same time, it allows us all to be in the same proximity.
Right.
Frank in one corner with a couple of isolation panels,
Right.
to keep him separate. Dusty in another corner with his amp facing the wall, so he's isolatable. And the same thing with the guitar rig is in another zone that doesn't intrude into their world.
Right. Right.
But at the same time, we can all keep eye contact. We can all feel like we're playing as we do in a live situation.
Right. Right. Gotcha.
So, depending on the nature of the composition, the lucky day is when we can lay a basic track down, which would be full drum kit, deliver the bass guitar and rhythm guitar part.
Right.
And in the case of, let's take, for instance, Alligator.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a simplistic composition. There is no bass. I take that back. I think Dusty played one note every 8 beats.
Mm-hmm.
Every 2 bars, he just hit the tonic.
Mm-hmm.
And that we all smile, and we call that the lucky day. It's not that challenging. But if necessary, it's an easy process for me to allow the drums and bass to lay down a what I guess you'd call it just the most basic of basic stuff. It'd be the basic track. And then if necessary, I will go and perform on top of that once it's established.
Right.
And then we usually leave the singing to be tagged on following the completion of we arrange the musical track first, and then rarely do we ever attempt to sing at the same time, simply because the engineers prefer to isolate as much as they can.
Right.
It just helps in the mix.
Right.
I don't know if there may have been only like one song off this record where we actually sang it at the same time.
Right. So describe Foam Box to me. Gear. Kind of what's involved there.
Well, it's a tube. As you enter the building, we have. We call it the escape room. It's actually a nice lounge area, and it's conveniently placed between the control room on your left and the performing room, which is straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
The traditional glass divider window allows visuals with the engineering staff.
Right.
And as you enter the control room, we've separated it to the left side of the room and the right side of the room, with the console at the end of the. It's a rather long room.
Mm-hmm.
The console sits right in front of the glass window, and the two engineers operate from there.
Right.
On the left is our collection of old analog gear. We've got a very old Ampex 16-track analog machine.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, there's two of those, and those go back to I think about 1969.
Wow.
And there was a recording studio that was going out of business and sold off a bunch of this stuff. In fact, they had shoved it into storage, and we got lucky and we were able to make we've scored that gear.
Mm-hmm.
On the right side of the room is a little more contemporary. With there is I would say 3 towers of rack effects gear, and that would be limiters, compressors, mic preamps, and wisely the engineers have shared a value of as outmoded and outdated as some of this old tube gear seems to be. It still remains without question. There's no arguing that there is value in the warmth of a tube piece of equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really quite clever the way that this room was constructed, because on the back side of the I'd call it the outboard gear wall.
Right.
We have access doors so that the enormous amount of heat that these tube items produce
Right.
has a chance to escape. And if they need to be attended to, if there's any maintenance work required, they have easy access to the rear.
Mm-hmm. Billy, could you talk in any more detail about specifically the kinds of analog pieces you have in there and the digital stuff?
We got lucky and we found we have let's see, we've got 6 Fairchild compressors.
Wow.
And there's I think there's 6 pieces of old Pultec gear, and this stuff goes like back to the late 50s.
Wow.
And it took us a while to assemble that beautiful lineup, and boy, it sure looks sweet when it's all sitting packed in there as it was originally designed.
Right.
There are some more contemporary pieces. There's a company that makes an item called a Distressor, which is intended to create a simulation of tape saturation as you'd find on analog tape machines.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, there's probably there's probably another dozen items. We've got a couple of late model harmonizers. There's a couple of things called it's called a fat, not Planet Fat, but a Fat Dog 2 or something. I was just talking about it, and now it escapes me. I can't recall what it exactly is. I should be specific. I'll make a note to find out what that is.
That'd be great. And what type of board are you using?
We went to we've got a kind of an antiquated Ampex board. It's a bit limited, so we've converted over using the Mackie, one of the later model Mackie boards. I can't remember which one it is, but it's that Mackie phenomena is really of value. It's great gear. It's dependable. It seems to be reasonably priced for what you get.
Yeah.
And what really makes it nice is the number of inputs allows the engineers to. They don't have to, piecemeal Y chords and make extra inputs, which just kind of choke the system. So you've got a handy number of inputs. It's still manually operated. It's not an automated board. We don't have any moving faders on it, but by and large, it gets the job done. And the nice thing is that the circuit design obviously was well thought out, because the tube mics, all of this tube advantage still has to run through something.
Right.
And it'd be nice, but to have a tube board big enough to manage the demands that most engineers today would prefer to work with, gosh, you'd wind up with a